Batten down the hatches, you scallywags. We're hitting the high seas with the Ahoy Mateys Precon. Admiral Brass is making deals with Davy Jones with her reanimation ability, and Don Andres is doing some good old-fashioned thievery. For you today, I've got 10 cards for less than $10 to upgrade this deck. These cards are going to be tailored for our favorite pirate grandma, because I haven't visited Davy Jones's locker in a while and my days of thievery are behind me. For now, I'm gonna start with the most expensive edition and one of the best enablers of Admiral Brass's reanimation ability, Power Conduit. One of my favorite things about Magic is that despite hundreds of new cards printed every year and dozens of new mechanics, you can end up in a spot like this, looking at a 20-year-old card and being like, yeah, that's exactly the right angle for this. Power Conduit is 2 mana and taps to remove a counter from a target permanent you control. There's more text, but this ability is the perfect synergy with Admiral Brass Unsinkable. At the beginning of your combat, she returns a pirate creature from your graveyard to the battlefield with 4 power, 4 toughness, and a finality counter. Usually counters are good, but this one in particular means that if the creature dies, it will instead be exiled. That is something I'm trying to avoid. If I mill Timestream Navigator with the Admiral's first ability, I'm eventually going to revive her with the Admiral's second ability. To eliminate the chance of her being destroyed and thereby exiled with a spell like Assassin's Trophy, I'll have the Power Conduit in reserve to remove that finality counter. That way she'll at least be back in the graveyard, ready to come back for your next combat. The +1/+1 counter on the backside also feels good with this roster of evasive pirates. This artifact currently costs just over $2. Might as well talk about the other artifact, tucked away in the poop deck, Brass's Tunnel Grinder. It's a big poop deck, just like your mom's. This is undoubtedly a flavor win, and when you flip this into Tekutlon, the Searing Rift, you'll start generating massive amounts of value by discovering for every permanent spell you cast using the mana from that land. The artifact functions as card advantage, letting you discard any number of cards and drawing that many +1. This will likely be your first Descent, or permanent card entering the graveyard, leading to the first Boar counter on your end step. Collect 3 of these Boar counters, flip it and ship it, baby. Daring Piracy is the last non-creature edition, and it's super straightforward. You get a new pirate to play with at the start of every combat. A 1/1 pirate isn't the strongest, but enables synergies like Coercive Recruiter, where you gain control of a creature for the turn whenever a pirate enters the battlefield under your control. A creature created for this Commander Precon, Gemcutter Buccaneer, will be printing out treasure tokens thanks to this enchantment. And our first creature addition, Breach's Eager Pillager, loves it when pirates attack, getting up to 3 separate triggers, creating a treasure token, not allowing a creature to block, and an exiled card that you can play this turn. You can select one of those for each pirate attacking, up to 3. It's also got First Strike and decent stats for a 3-mana creature. With the value this guy brings to the table, including him is a no-brainer. Did you know that in the lore, Breaches kills the Myco Tyrant with a gun that shoots molten fire? Because now you do. You can pick him up for just 41 cents. Hey, quick break. See that subscribe button? Go on and press it. Very cool. The Eager Pillager's other half, Malcolm Alluring Scoundrel, also helped out with that Myco Tyrant kill, and brings plenty to like to this deck. But first, I want to start by reinforcing what the commander does, namely the 4 base power and toughness with haste. Having these evasive flyers with those bonus stats is going to add up, and the haste makes having these attack triggers, or in this case, combat damage triggers, all the more valuable. If you manage to hit an opponent for damage, you will first put a chorus counter on Malcolm. then you'll draw a card and discard a card. Looting to get your best hand is always helpful, or putting reanimation targets in the graveyard is similarly helpful. Once you get 4 chorus counters, you're no longer discarding though. You're casting the spell you would have discarded for free. I said it in my last video about a budget upgrade to the Blood Rites Precon, but I'll always say it. I love free spells. Malcolm Alluring Scoundrel is going for 84 cents. There are actually 3 more pirates from the Lost Caverns of Ixalan I've got cooked up for you. The first being Kitesail Larcenist. She is another flying creature and has a really unique take on removal that will impact everyone at the table. One creature or artifact of your choice will become a treasure token until the Larcenist leaves the battlefield. Early game, this can stop your opponent's ramp by nullifying soul rings and signets, and late game can remove huge stompy boys or key combo pieces. There is a lot to like here, and you can snag the creature for $1.16. Captain Lannery Storm is already in the Precon, and I'm throwing in the second version of her, Captain Storm, Cosmium Raider. She only costs 15 cents and is a blue and a red 2/2 that will be distributing a +1/+1 counter to a pirate you control whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control. There are 13 artifacts in the deck, which is not a bad number, but there are plenty of other ways to get artifacts onto the battlefield. For starters, her former iteration makes a treasure token when she attacks. Malcolm, Keen-Eyed Navigator, is famous for his treasure generation when dealing combat damage. And the first reprinting of one of my favorite cards, Prismari Command, can get you a treasure if you so choose. It doesn't stop there, but I feel like the point has been made. But while we're at it, Spyglass Siren is the last LCI edition and synergizes nicely with the Cosmium Raider. The creature is a cute flying 1/1, but creates a map token when entering the battlefield. That's a +1/+1 counter from Captain Storm if she's on the battlefield, and either a land in hand when it's cracked to explore, or another +1/+1 counter if it's a non-land card revealed. You bring this creature back from the graveyard with Admiral Brass, and you're looking at a hasted 4/4 flyer, with a map token to boot. This creature isn't what I would call a powerhouse, but for only 12 cents, it does enough to make its way into the deck. Forerunner of the Coalition is a tutor that will find you a pirate of your choice to put nicely on top of your freshly shuffled library. The second ability is also pretty cool, pinging each opponent 1 life when another pirate enters the battlefield under your control. All you've got is pirates, so that'll at least be doing some work for you. Now, what pirates are even worth tutoring? The only answer is the new creature Francisco, Foul Marauder, because I love him and I will protect him always. For real though, depending on the state of the game, you might want removal with Amphim Mutineer, to really turn up the heat with Angrath's Marauders, and of course the Time Stream Navigator with her extra turn ability. The tutor is doubly cool with the Navigator because if you manage to get your extra turn, she goes to the bottom of your library. With Forerunner of the Coalition, you can get her right back on top. This creature is only 40 cents. Changeling Outcast is the last addition to this upgrade package, and despite not technically being a pirate, gets that creature type through its shape-shifting ability. This is another straightforward inclusion that works best with your commander. An unblockable 1/1 isn't getting the job done, but a recurred 4/4 unblockable creature buffed up with a new creature like Skeleton Crew, a reprinted creature like Admiral Beckett Brass, and a reprinted artifact like Icon of Ancestry, and suddenly your opponents have got a problem on their hands. Here's a bonus if you want to round the total out to right around $10. Molten Echoes. This enchantment copies a creature when it enters the battlefield, and gives the copy haste before being exiled on your end step. This deck has all sorts of ETB triggers, not to mention a commander that can grab a pirate for free each turn. This one is sitting a couple dimes less than $3. That's all 10 cards for the upgrade, but I've got a little more I want to share with you if you want to stick around. I won't make any more jokes about your mom's poop deck, if that persuades you. Let's start with some reprints. Vanquisher's Banner and Herald's Horn, alongside the cards I mentioned in the last section, solidify this precon as a pirate tribal deck and are really solid reprints. The Banner lords up a creature of your choice, but also lets you draw when you cast a creature of that chosen type. Herald's Horn makes a chosen creature type cheaper to cast by 1 mana, and can be card advantage if you find a creature of the chosen type on top of your library during your upkeep. Black Market Connections is the creme de la creme of this deck, with previous versions of this card reaching $20 or more. This is an enchantment that will let you trade life during your pre-combat main phase for up to 3 different boons: a treasure token, a drawn card, and a 3/2 shapeshifter. If you choose all 3, you're paying 6 life, so be careful when dealing in the black market. Pitiless Plunderer is a creature that no doubt will do work in this deck, but has outrageous value in decks where you want your creatures dying. That's because you're getting a treasure token every time one of your creatures dies. This goes infinite with Chatterfang and a couple of squirrels, and is an absolute beating with Ashnod's Altar and so many other pieces. Windfall is a wonderful way to refill your hand, and is especially strong if your opponents have more cards in their hand than you do in yours. First step is everyone discards their hand. For you, that could be a boar counter on Brass's Tunnel Grinder. Second step is everyone draws equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded. Besides refilling your hand, in strategies that care about drawn cards, like a Grixis deck that runs a Shelly, the strength of this card skyrockets. Portraiser, if successful in dealing combat damage to a player, lets you untap your creatures and gives you another combat phase. While the Portraiser can't attack the same player, if it manages to deal combat damage to the next player you attack with it, you get another combat phase, for up to 4 total combats in 1 turn. When it comes to lands, Sulphur Falls is a great addition to most mana bases that care about Izzet colors. Unclaimed territory works well in any sort of tribal deck, especially those with 3 or more colors, and Gyre Reach Sanitarium is just a solid land to have in your collection. I've talked a little about Francisco, Gemcutter Buccaneer, and Skeleton Crew, but I've got 3 more new cards I'd like to share. The Grim Captain's Locker is a 4-mana legendary artifact that will freely tap to Surveil 1. It also taps to unlock your graveyard, giving every creature escape at the cost of 3 and a black, plus 4 exiled cards from your graveyard. With only a third of the creatures going mana even, I'm not the biggest fan of it in this deck, outside of the delectably briny flavor. In a deck where you are playing big creatures and plan on having a full graveyard, this is your newest must-add spell. Broadside Bombardiers do not take their name lightly. So long as they have attacked on your turn, you can sacrifice a creature to load up into their cannon, flinging damage equal to the sacrificed creature's mana value plus 2. I just love what this card is about, what can I say? The Indomitable is Admiral Brass's new ship, and boy does it live up to her legacy. It's a 4-mana 6/6 trampling vehicle with crew 3. I've certainly seen better rates on that end, but the static effect of drawing cards whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player is amazing, especially with all our flying pirates. Additionally, you can cast this from your graveyard if you've got enough tapped pirates on the battlefield. The pirates lived up to the hype in my eyes, and I can't wait to wrap up this series by bringing you a hyper-budget Merfolk Precon upgrade. Check out the Dino upgrade and the Big Suck for other LCI upgrades. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment about the pirates I needed to include here. As always, I'll catch you next time for some more monkeying around.